Let's bring in Nick Pumford. He is the head coach for the men's golf team at Oakland University. Coach, thank you for being with us.
Hey, thank you, Ronnie. We appreciate it.
So before we jump into the conversation, I do have to let you know, I'm not a golfer. I like putt-putt.
Hey, that works.
I will say my husband has become an avid golfer, so he's in a league on Tuesday. So, of course, he has to play on Monday to practice for the league on Tuesday.
Absolutely.
And then maybe even get 9 in before he goes to play on Tuesday because, of course, his score is going to get better.
He's got the golf bug, and it's funny. Not that there's been a lot of positive from COVID, but the one positive is golf has really boomed in the state, well, in the whole world, actually. And so it seems like it's a kind of a safe thing that people can do, and they can get outside and get their exercise.
Well, with that, Tyler is really kind of our sports expert on the show, so I'll toss the interview over to him. That is, unless you want to talk putt-putt. I'm really good at getting the ball through the clown's mouth.
Hey, that's hard to do sometimes.
Tyler?
So one of the big things that came out of this season for Oakland University, of course, Oakland's got an increasingly growing sports program, athletics program over there in Rochester as well. And part of that is going into these larger leagues. A few years ago, of course, Oakland University moved into the Horizon League in many of its Division I sports, including in golf. And this year, actually, your team won the Horizon League Championship, the first in the school's history. Can you talk a little bit about what clicked this season that led to such a prolific outcome for the Oakland University men's golf team?
Yeah, I mean, it was an interesting season to say the least. Usually in college golf, we have a fall season, and we compete in 4 to 5 events in the fall. And unfortunately, that portion was canceled. And so we had 5 events lined up for the spring season, in which we played 3. And then unfortunately, 2 of them got canceled because of COVID-related issues. So we actually we didn't play a tournament for a month leading into the Horizon League Championships. And then on top of that, our number 3 guy was a close contact. So he was out for 14 days and couldn't compete for us. So there was a lot of unknowns going into the event, but all year we had shown promises during tournaments. And so most of our tournaments are 3 rounds. And it seemed like in every round or in every tournament, we'd have 1 round where we were the best scorer of the field. So the talent is there, and it was just believing. And the guys had a great couple weeks of practice leading up to it, and everything clicked.
We're joined by Thomas Giroux and head coach Nick Pumford from the Oakland University men's golf team here on the Oakland County MegaCast. And it was really an amazing season for your team. 5 players in the top 16 in the Horizon League Championship. And part of the challenge of operating a sports team during this pandemic was all the start and the stop and the changes in regulations. How did your team navigate through that to be able to then still have this level of success and elevate that success to a championship?
Yeah, it's a credit to our athletic administration. They put some really nice protocols in place. We had tons of meetings to talk about what that looked like to keep the guys safe. And then ultimately it falls on the guys, right? Like every college student, right, their whole world was kind of flipped upside down, and it was a totally new experience. And we talk about culture all the time amongst our team, and guys being together and being around each other and just kind of creating a bond and team unity. Unfortunately, this year we couldn't do that. I mean, realistically, the only times that they were able to see each other was at practice, and at that they were socially distanced. And then it's not like they could go back and have lunch, dinner together, whatever. It was like they stayed in their little pods. And so we tried to socially distance as much as we could. We wore a mask all the time. But it's a credit to them, right? We didn't have any positive tests amongst our team the whole season, and they just followed the protocols and did what they were told to do.
We're joined by Thomas Giroux and Nick Pumford, the head coach of the Oakland University men's golf team. And Thomas, to go to you, you won Golfer of the Year this year in the Horizon League. And so for you as an athlete, as a player, going through this school year, which was completely different, and then going through the athletic season as well, it was also completely different. What was your strategy, or what was your approach to navigating not only the challenges on the links, but also your challenges in the classroom at Oakland University to be able to have a successful year?
The main thing was just focusing on the goal. Like every year, our goal is to win Horizon Leagues and move forward into the postseason, and staying focused on that, whether it was through cancellations of tournaments or just through regular practices. It's all about staying focused throughout the year and knowing what you need to do to move forward.
Thomas Giroux was the golfer of the year, of course, in the Horizon League, where the Oakland University men's golf team won their championship this year. And also Nick Pumford, the head coach of the men's golf team over at Oakland, won Coach of the Year. And part of the progress of growing a program at any university, and even at Oakland University, is taking those steps forward. It's building teams that are able to win matches. It's building teams that are able to consistently win matches. It's being competitive in your league tournaments and then competing for league championships and making it to the NCAA tournament. How has a year like this, Nick, helped propel your program and prepared your younger guys on the team, those underclassmen that are growing into the future leaders of this team, but also looking forward in recruiting and getting people to come to Oakland and know that they're going to a program that is growing, that is going places, and has a lot of success ahead of it?
Yeah, I mean, my philosophy from day one was to get as competitive as schedule as possible. So that was playing in events in the Big Ten, the ACC, traveling really all over the country to find the best events possible. And we attracted recruits that wanted to do that. And Thomas was one of those guys, and he blossomed. And so for us, you know, if we're teamed up next to Oklahoma State, Florida, that sort of thing, that's the highest level. And so we see what good is, and we try to measure ourselves to that. And so, like Thomas was saying, our ultimate goal is to win the Horizon League, but then really to compete on a national level. And so this is the first year in my 5 years that we're able to do that. And so we're headed to regionals next week down in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And you could argue that we have the toughest regional. There are 4 teams there ranked in the top 20 with the #1 overall seed, Oklahoma. So I'm cautiously optimistic, because if we played like we did a couple weeks ago, we have a really good chance of moving on to the national tournament. So, but guys are going to see what it is. We're going to see the Bearhead logo down there. Recruits are going to see that. Fans, alums, all of it. So it's a pretty exciting time for our program.
We're joined by Thomas Giroux, the golfer of the year on in the Horizon League with Oakland University's men's golf team, as well as Nick Pumford, the head coach of the men's golf team at Oakland University. A really prolific season for the Golden Grizzlies out on the links. Horizon League championship. Nick Pumford, coach of the year in the Horizon League. Thomas Giroux, golfer of the year. And they also had Yara Ilenko, who won freshman of the year. So this team is going places. And in terms of the tournament, you said that the regional is coming up. How does the tournament work in golf different than from other sports? Because we know in college football and in their playoff, it's head-to-head, same thing within the NCAA men's tournament. But not a lot of people know how different sports and their tournaments work, with them being just as competitive as others.
Yeah, so there will be 14 teams there with select individuals as well. And then the top teams advance to the NCAA finals out of that event. And so there are 6 regional sites across the country. So there'll be 30 teams at the national championship. And then on top of that, the top individual on a non-qualifying team will also advance individually to the national championship. So, you know, if our team doesn't play well, an individual could, and they could advance as well. So there's kind of a carrot at the end of the stick on both ends.
I know we're getting a lot further along in the vaccination process here in Michigan, definitely in Oakland County, and really across the country. How have the protocols been impacted as we are getting further along in this pandemic, and how does that affect how you practice and how you perform, Thomas and Nick, as we're going forward in this tournament?
Yeah, I mean, for us, we're fortunate that Oakland provided the vaccine to us. And so actually all of our guys are vaccinated. You know, one of the protocols that we had to face all year was testing 72 hours before the first round of an event, so before we left, and then testing when we returned home. And so because everyone's vaccinated, the NCAA said that we won't have to test during the regional competition, which is just another thing not to have to worry about on top of everything else.
We're joined on the program today by Nick Pumford, the head coach of the Oakland University men's golf team, as well as Thomas Giroux, who was the golfer of the year in the Horizon League and is playing in the regional with the Oakland University men's golf team as well. And Thomas, as you're preparing for this level of competition, you're playing against the best of the best now. As your coach said, you were in probably the toughest regional, if not the toughest regional matchup in men's golf at the national level in the tournament. How are you as a leader on this team and other golfers that are participating in this regional from Oakland University preparing for such elevated competition and a chance to really put Oakland University men's golf on the map after having a successful NCAA tournament?
Well, we're focusing on the goal and we're practicing hard. There's a lot of factors involved in playing in Albuquerque, like elevation and the wind. So the ball is going to be moving a little different than we're used to. So we're working on practicing with that and getting used to that. But if you want to beat the best, you got to practice like them and work just as hard as them. So that's what we're doing out here.
Nick Pumford with us, the head coach, and Thomas Giroux, a golfer from the Oakland University men's golf team here on the Oakland County Megacast. And Nick, we talked a little bit earlier, you and Ronnie touched on kind of the rise of golf locally here during the pandemic and really nationally during the pandemic as people were looking for safe hobbies to take on outside or new activities to learn outside as well. How has that sort of golf boom we've experienced over the last year or two impacted your program and where you may be going in the future as you continue to grow Oakland University men's golf?
Yeah, I mean, it's great to see. And so we're fortunate to have two great golf courses on campus. And I think in the month of August, they did 8,000 rounds last year, which was 2,000 more rounds than their record. And so, the guys are out here in their Oakland gear, have their Oakland bags, and it seems like people want to know what's going on. And so it's creating that sense of community, and we're lucky to be a part of it and to be able to talk about our program and inform people on college golf. And so we're seeing a lot more new faces, which is really cool to see.
Gentlemen, just another couple minutes with you before we let you go. Thomas Giroux and Nick Pumford from the Oakland University men's golf team. Anything else that we should know about your team as you're going into the regional or ways that the community can support our Golden Grizzlies golfers as they continue to compete in the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, so the cool thing is there'll be live scoring at the tournament. So if viewers go to golfstat.com and then they pull up the Albuquerque Regional, there'll be live scoring and people can follow along as well. And, one other thing I want to say about the guys before we go, we also got a 349 team GPA, which was the highest in our program's history. And so, not only are they great players, but they're great students, and that's something that can't be overlooked.
Yet another great accomplishment from this season for the men's golf team over at Oakland University. Thomas, Nick, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you, Tyler.